Hello, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative. Welcome to the 5th card in my Easter Critters card series. Today I'm calling it the Marble Mouse. Now the mouse isn't marble, he's on a marble background, but you know what I mean. So to start off with, I am using the Waffle Flower Layering Marble stamp set. And I think it is really, really cool and really fun. Now they have divided these pieces into sort of layering sets. So that first one was the B's, this is the C's that I'm showing now. At the bottom it's D's, and they are marked out very clearly on the stamp set. And then in the upper left is a single one, and that's called A. Now you can see here there's like a little shape that you need to line up with each of the 3 layering pieces. So in that B, it's kind of a C shape. In the C set, it's a Y that is on all 3 shapes. The D set gets a little bit complicated because D1 and D2 kind of have one shape that you might line up, which is a little bit of kind of a C shape again, or an E shape. And then the D3 and D2, you have to line up a little bit differently. So I did highlight all those with a yellow Sharpie on the back side of my acetate. Don't use Sharpie on the front. It's going to remove your print. Guess how I found that out. Anyway, Waffle Flower does have a really great video that introduces this set. So if you're concerned about like how to line it up correctly, you might want to watch that video as well. They probably do a more thorough job of explaining how to line them up correctly. But for the sake of expediency, I am being a little bit brief here. But my point about this stamp set, though, is that it's very, very forgiving and extremely organic because, you know, marble is really random. And even if you screw up, like I did right there with the picked raspberries, my darkest color, and there's a big smudge on the upper part of that wasn't even on the stamp, like it was on the block. And you would think normally, oh my God, that's horrible, I've really screwed it up. Well, you know what? By the end of this, you would never even know that wasn't supposed to be there because it's a very organic set. You know, it's not supposed to look perfect. You can really be way off and nobody would ever know. And that's one of the things that I absolutely love about this. If you've watched any of my other videos, you may know that I am a fan of imperfection. I think if you are making handmade cards, you are going to have mistakes on them because that is the nature of things that are handmade. And that's kind of the beauty of it as well, in my opinion. So this stamp set especially, I think you need to kind of be loose and like let yourself just go with it. There is a point at which I start stamping like stamps that don't go together randomly around on this, and you would never know by the end that wasn't the way it was supposed to be because it's so, you know, just kind of loose. And you know, marble has such different variations in colors and shades and shapes in it that it really just doesn't matter how you do it. So I say be free when you use this stamp set, if you can. Now, if it's really going to bug you, then I would say use a Misty to line things up, or, you know, a similar stamping tool. For me, I obviously didn't care. And then this is the single stamp, which is the A stamp, and I am stamping this in my sort of middle shade, which was Ranger Pink Gumball. My lightest shade was Archival Pink Peony, and then my darkest shade is Distress Ink Picked Raspberry. And so those are my 3 pinks. Now, obviously, this is a pretty bold pink marble, and so I wasn't going for realism here, obviously, in terms of color. But that's, again, another fun thing about this stamp set. Like, you could really just make up whatever color marble you want. And so that's what I did. I thought for Easter, let's get some pink marble. So here, like, I'm stamping, I think that might be D2, and then here's D3, or that might be B2 and then B3, that I'm just like stamping randomly around. And the cool thing about this is that you can line up different stamps. Like you can line up part of the D on top of the B and nobody would ever know. And I do that later. Like here's, I think this might be B2. Then I'm just kind of stamping in the middle, and then I'm going to take B3 and stamp it on top. And that's cool. And then there's a point at which I decide I need more dark pink. So I'm going around and I just started stamping D3 like all over the place. Here it is. And it just to add little dots of pink here and there. And you would never know, like that one. So I stamped it on top of the bee in the middle. You wouldn't know that didn't go together. So that's one of the fun things about this stamp set. And then there is a point, I think, where I stamp like the first bee stamp on top of, like right here, on top of some other stuff. Again, you'd never know. So it's really fun, and it lets your creativity kind of go crazy. Because look at how it's really fun looking, and I just completely just was winging it, having fun. So if you're interested in that marble idea, I think that's a really fun set. It's really cool, and the possibilities are kind of endless on that. Now for my main focal point, I am using the mouse from the Hero Arts Playful Animals stamp set, along with the little Easter hat from the Chirpy Chirp Chirp Lawn Fawn stamp set. Now I've masked off my hat, and I'm going to stamp the mouse on top of this. Now it's a little tricky to get lined up correctly, and I'm a little bit off. So I'm going to take a Copic liner and kind of fill that in. And this was a new stamp set for me, the Playful Animals. So I hadn't really seasoned that well, so it didn't stamp that well. So I do wind up kind of coloring it back in a bit with my Copic liner. If it would really bug you to have it off, I again would say either use a Misty, or you could just stamp that little hat separately and then just cut it out and stick it on top. It wouldn't be that big a deal. Now to color him, I am using my Spectrum Noirs. So I stamped him in Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and now I am coloring him using my brown grays. So the first color was BG1, and now I'm adding shading with BG2 and deepening the shadows with BG4, and then I will like blend it all together using BG1 again. And I think I deepen it a little bit on his sides again with the BG2, but not too much, and that blending isn't too bad. And then I add PP1 to his ears, which is a pink, and I'll blend it out with BG1, and then we're going to add the same pink to his cheeks, because he's got to have little pink cheeks, and I'm going to blend that out again with the BG1. And then I'm going to go to the hat, and for that I'm using the IG, so I think those are ice grays, so they're like cool grays. So I added some shading with the IG2 and deepened it a little bit with the IG4, and then I'm actually going to blend the whole thing out with the blender pen, because I want it to stay white in the like highlighted part. And then I'm going to add pink into his little ears on the bunny hat, and then I'll blend that out again with my blender pen. And then I'll take my black glaze pen, and I'm going to go over his eyes, his nose, his whiskers, and his tail. Now the whiskers and the tail get a little bit thick, but that didn't bug me too much. But if it was going to bother you, I would say just do his eyes and his nose. That's pretty important. And later I will add a couple of highlights to his eyes using my white glaze pen. Now I've sparkled up his hat, and now I'm adding a little bit of texture. Like I felt like his fur was too smooth. So I took my BG4 and I added some like just little slashy marks around the lower part of his body, and then like sort of the outer edges. And then I added more slashy marks with BG2 just to give him a little texture. Thought that gave him a little bit of extra dimension. Now for my main two panels, I have cut two ovals out using my Elizabeth Craft Design Stitched Oval stamp set, or die set, sorry. And I used the smallest one for the mouse, and then the second smallest for that polka dot. And then that stripy paper I have cut to an A2 size and trimmed down my marble by 1/4 inch all the way around. So the marble is 5 1/4 by 4. And the stripy paper and the polka dot paper are both from Lawn Fawn's Let's Polka paperback. Now my banner is cut out using the Fancy Folded Banners die set, which I love. And to make a little inset piece in white, I cut a second banner out of white, and then I just trimmed down that center panel so that I could stick it in place on top of the gray so that my greeting would show nicely across the front. I didn't have a Happy Easter stamp that fit exactly on this, so I printed this out on my computer, and then I kind of cut them apart to layer them on top of the white. It does get a little kind of paper piecey across that banner. So if you had stamps that would fit, I would say that would probably be the better way to go, but I was okay with it in the end. I did add foam tape to the back of my banner to give it a little bit of dimension, and I punched out some little flowers out of lemon drop cardstock from Gina K, and added some detailing on those using my Mowed Lawn Distress marker to kind of pull the green in. And then in the center, I added some Elizabeth Craft Designs glitter dots that are silver and pink to kind of pull the whole color scheme together. And so now I'm just going to adhere everything down with my ATG gun. You won't see me do this, but in the end I do adhere the entire piece down to a side folding A2 white card base. Now the banner's a little tricky to get in place because you want to kind of fold under the sides, but I wanted the top to be stuck up, so I had to monkey with that just a hair. And then I'm using some micro dots to stick down these little tiny flowers. They were like the perfect size for these little guys. And I'm sort of tucking them around, and this one I'm going to tuck under the banner, but I wind up having to trim it down just a hair to get him tucked under there just correctly. And that is basically the completed project. And I really, really like it. I realize I made it, so I don't mean to be, like arrogant or anything. I just think it's super cute. I like the mix of patterns and colors. I love to do that, so I'm really happy with how it came out. And I hope I gave you a little inspiration especially with that marble stamp set, which I think is really, really awesome. So thanks so much for watching. As always, there's a supply list linked in the video description below and over on my blog. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, and hey, I would love to hear from you, so leave me a comment. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. You need to subscribe right now. And here are a couple other videos in my Easter Critters cards series. You can click on either one of those if you're interested. Thanks so much. Have a great day.